Hello, welcome. I'm going to show you how to put reflections onto something, and we got some flowers here. This is a tutorial in Photoshop that I'm showing you. So there's lots of different ways we are going to zoom out. Basically, we want to make this smaller because we're going to be working around this image. So the way I'm going to do it on my screen is down here I can put in any value I want. I'm going to put 150 on my computer just to make it smaller for the time being. The next thing you're going to want to do is go to the crop tool, and you'll probably need to do this if you have different settings in here. The fastest way just to reset it to default is to click this little arrow right here. I don't have anything in the values, so it's not going to be an issue for me. So now I'm going to go to this bottom icon right here, which is actually an adjustment layer, and we're going to click on this adjustment layer, and we're going to go to a solid color adjustment layer, and we're going to go to completely white. You can go up in the corners, or if you want to write down 6 Fs that you can see right there so that the layer is completely solid white. Select OK. And the next thing you're going to want to do is drag this layer underneath your background layer. Now, if you see an actual lock right here, we want to unlock the layer so we can put things underneath the layer. So I'm going to click this lock. That's going to unlock it, and I'm going to bring my adjustment layer, that's solid white, underneath the image of the flowers. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take this layer right here, this adjustment layer, and we're going to extend it to about 1500 pixels, okay? Now, depending on what you're doing on this you have to think, where do you want your reflection to be? So right here, I'm going to put the reflection under here, and I might have to change that amount if I'm not sure, but I know that 1500 should work. Up here, it says transparent. I'm going to change that to content aware fill. Because there's white all around it, it should give me just white. There might be an error, but we're not going to worry about the error. And then we're going to click enter, return. Here's the error. That's okay. So now that we have that, we're going to select the enter right there, that little check mark. So that gets rid of the actual working crop tool right now, even though it's selected. So now we're going to select the flower layer right here. So it says layer 0, that's our flowers. We're going to actually go to now to the marquee tool right here. Make sure it's a rectangle marquee tool. And we need to actually start getting ready for our reflection. So we're going to actually select just the vases, but we want to get all the vases in just the right amount. So you may have to do this a couple times to get it right, but we got just the top of that. I'm going to go just a tiny bit higher, and then notice it's not quite going to the very bottom. Now, because I have just a little bit selected of the green of vase, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go just a tiny bit farther on the red one. Notice the bottom of it. So that way I can move it over to the right side just a little bit. So I'm going to use my keyboard mouse, okay, the arrows on my keyboard to move that selection over just a little bit so it covers all of the vases and just the vases, nothing else, okay? Now the next thing I'm going to actually just go up a tiny bit there. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go up here to the layer, new, and you want to go to layer via copy. So layer, new layer via copy. Don't go to cut because it will actually cut your other one. We're copying this one. So select that there. And now what we see is there's another layer up here that made on top of the other layers. That's just our selection with the white around it. So now the next thing that we're going to do is go to edit, transform, flip vertical. So edit, transform, flip vertical. So that extra layer we made of just the vases, now we're going to flip that around, okay? So now you can see that the other layer is still there, okay? This is on top of it. So now this is important. We're going to move these vases down, which are going to be our reflection. However, when we do this, we're going to hold down Shift on the keyboard. Hold down Shift, and while Shift, go to the Move tool first. Go to Move tool. So we got the Move tool. You see that selected around that. I'm going to hold down Shift because we don't want it to go left or right. If you don't hold down shift, it could go any direction. Now, we're going to move this layer so that it just goes right up to the bottom of the other vases to make it look like a reflection, okay? So that's where you're going to have to get really close right in there. I might go up just, well, that's where you're going to have to kind of work with it. Okay, so that looks pretty good there. Now the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to add a layer mask. So right here, we're going to select this little square there with circle inside of it. That's going to add our layer mask. See how the layer mask is selected? Now, the last thing that we need to do is go over here to the gradient tool. Where's the gradient? Right there's the gradient tool. And we're going to drag up from the bottom. Okay, so notice what it's doing now. And I'm going to bring it right up there, kind of towards the middle there of the vases. And there you go. That's it. And what you can also do, depending on what you want to save it, you can save it as a JPEG. If that's all you need, it looks perfect right there. If you're not sure, then you can save it as a Photoshop if you want all these different layers. You want to come back to it and study it. But there you go. That's how you can add a reflection to something.